Welcome back to News Across Nigeria. For more on our top stories and others, please visit our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Log on to m.channelstv.com to see us live on your mobile device, or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. The Channels TV and Channels 24 app will give you access to news and updates. You'll also have access to the Eyewitness feature, with which you can share those pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. Taraba State today joins Ekiti and Benue State to prohibit the open grazing of cattle, as the Governor, Darius Ishaku, announces that the law will take effect immediately. According to Governor Ishaku, this became necessary as part of measures to protect lives and property of residents in the state. Mr. Ishaku is also against the proposed cattle colony by the federal government, and he calls it archaic, a practice that should be replaced by more modern methods.
Our law takes effect, and by the grace of God, we will implement it, and we'll do it in a manner I'm hoping with the sensitization, there shouldn't be a problem. And it's done in good faith. Ranching is the only thing that can save this situation. I don't think anybody wants to be colonized again. We have gone through so many colonizations that I think we're already going into a new the year 2000, and I think we should be able to do something that is modern, something that can help everybody, every one of us. As I said earlier, our population is increased. We should do something that will bring peace to our people, not something that will bring us in the scattered manner. We should be able to secure our people.
Residents of Ijegu in Navy Town in Ojo area of Lagos State are scampering for safety following a fire outbreak in the area. Eyewitness reports told Channels Television that a loud noise was heard at about midday after a diesel tanker carrying 33,000 liters of fuel had an accident. Some residents are raising concerns over the sighting of tank farms near the Navy Town Ojo Armament Depot, a distance which, according to them, is about 5 nautical miles, which is against international best practices. They're calling on the fire service and other emergency agencies to attend to the situation before it gets worse. Now to the oil and gas sector. In the closing days of 2017, a scarcity of premium motor spirit was evident as motorists had to spend long hours queuing at petrol stations, with many Nigerians subjected to hiked prices of petrol. 2018 now does not seem to be any different, as the queues are back and Nigerians are feeling the pinch. Joining us on the program to discuss more on the fuel crisis and its adverse impact on the economy is Mr. Henry Boyo, an economist. Thank you so much for joining us on News Across Nigeria.
Thank you, Olumide.
It goes without saying, it goes without saying that no one expected that the fuel scarcity will stay for this long. What are the immediate adverse effects of this as far as you're concerned?
Well, it probably wouldn't be right to say no one expected it. I certainly did, and I've consistently maintained that over the years, and indeed into the future, well into the future.
Sorry to interrupt you. The Ministry of Petroleum Resources, everyone said that there was going to be fuel, that they had fuel. We had promises. We had the government saying that this would not. Worst case scenario, beginning of January, was going to be case closed. But
let's be realistic. I mean, that's not the first time government has made promises and failed to keep. That is the reality. It was quite clear that we would never get out of that horrible matrix whereby petrol prices will continue to rise, especially when the Naira exchange rate continues to depreciate. This is the relationship. Unfortunately, the whole of government, and I say the whole of government without any equivocation, have seemed to be fixated on refineries, more output, higher prices, and yet these things will never ensure that you have stable petrol prices in Nigeria, because the causative factor of higher prices of fuel is exchange rate. And it is an anomaly when, for example, you have the price of crude oil at about $69, $70 per barrel at the moment. At the same time, it was as a result of a weakening in the reserves that the Naira itself crashed. And yet nobody's asking that now that the price of crude oil is $69 per barrel, and we are producing so much, and the reserves have gone as high as over $40 per barrel, why is the Naira remaining relatively static at 305? This is a very fundamental question. And it provides an answer, it provides an insight into why we have never gotten it right with regards to fuel pricing. Because people have been fixated on the wrong causative factors.
Supply and demand.
Not supply and demand. Supply and demand is not so much at play here as the price determination process whereby we earn more dollars from higher crude oil prices, but somehow or the other, the Naira seems to depreciate. And when the Naira depreciates, whether you like it or not, the price of fuel, indeed, if the price of crude oil comes down in the market, it is no guarantee that the price of fuel will come. For example, when the price of crude oil fell to as low as $40 per barrel, and we would expect that the price of fuel would fall, what happened? The Naira depreciation or the Naira collapse from less than 200 to 300 threw everything, out of gear.
So you're saying one of the causative factors,
critical causative factors, not just one,
which the marketers have alluded to, that they can't, afford to pay for the fuel. The government has to pay for it, and there's no subsidy and all of that. Is this that you're saying?
I'm telling you very categorically, without any equivocation, because nobody has challenged my position in 15 years, that the causative factor of scarcity, of higher fuel prices, is Naira depreciation when it should be appreciating. And this is brought about as a result of the CBN's process of utilizing the dollar reserves that we earn. What happens when you have a market? Look, let's look at it this way.
Yeah.
If you have a market where you auction any item, you want to auction your very lovely tie, for example, you will sell it to the person who bids the highest. So when you have a situation where the CBN is consciously, deliberately auctioning the dollar against the Naira, it means the CBN is betting against its own currency. And so long as you continue with that process, you would continue to have a weaker Naira, and a weaker Naira will always pour higher fuel prices. So when they take you and make you concentrate on areas that don't really matter, you have to wonder whether they are not deliberately taking you for a ride.
So what, in your view, is a solution?
The solution is very simple. You see, we are talking of the monopoly of the fuel market by NNPC, and we know it's bad. And we don't seem to recognize that the CBN is consciously, deliberately manipulating and monopolizing the foreign exchange market. And so long as you continue to monopolize, you'll have all the distortions that happen in any economy where there is a monopoly. So long as the CBN does this, you will never get an improved Naira rate. And for 30 years, they've been doing so. It has never mattered whether your oil prices doubled, whether your oil reserves doubled, whether your oil reserves tripled. You still have a weaker Naira. So that should tell you that something is very, very
Thank you so much,
wrong.
Mr. Boye. I wish we had so much more time.
No, it's a
But we'll have to leave it there.
Thank you.
Mr. Henry Boye, an economist, speaking to us on the adverse effects of the scarcity of fuel in the country, raising up a very important point. We're going to take a break on news across Nigeria. When we come back, the governor of Kogi State talks of the role of women in leadership in the society. Stay with us.